Hello and welcome to another episode of Hiring and Inspiring. Today's episode is a little bit different. It is just myself, yours truly, Joe Cutler on the line. No guest today. Reason being it's just myself today is because this episode is my, 21st episode that I've recorded. Now, that is a little bit of a landmark episode for me. So I was just going to do some reflections, some lessons learned so far. Now, reason being why this episode is a landmark episode to me. It might not seem like much. Episode 21, not very many. We're still very much early days of this podcast, getting it up and running. However, around about the time that I decided to launch this, I heard a stat which really sort of blew me away. Now, the stat was around podcasts, and apparently, according to the stat, if you can make it to 21 episodes, if you can record and publish 21 episodes of a podcast, you are in the top 1% of podcasts all time. That's right. Like, when I heard that, I couldn't believe it. Now, it may or may not be true, but the fact that if there is some truth to it, it really sort of blew me away, because 21 episodes just seem like such a low number to be in the top 1% of all time. So it just goes to show that so many people, so many podcasts start and don't quite see it through. So when I heard that stat, I was like, wow, the bar is almost so low. While it seems like everyone is starting something, everyone's starting their own podcast or whatever, so many people maybe aren't following through. So my goal when I started this was to make it to 21 episodes. That was my main focus. Like, right, I'm just going to get to 21 episodes, and that's step number one. And here we are. So look, I'm in a happy mood about that. I'm in a celebratory mood, to make it to 21. Hence why I'm doing this solo episode, and hence why I'm gonna be just reflecting a little bit on how it's gone so far. So this this show, I've been doing it for 3 months, just over 3 months now, around about the start of the year. I've been really enjoying it. I've been really enjoying doing the one-on-one chats with people, getting to know people away from, we talk about their work and their CV and their professional life a lot of the time on this show, but it's getting to know the people behind that, the reasons why, digging a little bit deeper than the typical, often surface level conversations you have with people when you catch up with them. Especially even, some of my friends, the people on the show that have been guests, a lot of them have been my mates. It's been great to just have conversations with them that you don't always typically have. Ask them. You don't always ask your mate, like, oh, what were the reasons for you moving on from that role? Questions like that. And I've really found that that's been really enjoyable. Other things, obviously, this I set out with no expectations of determining this podcast sort of where it would go from here, and I still don't. The main thing is I'm just wanted to enjoy it. It's operating at a loss. It's costing me money to be doing this, and it's costing me time as well. But I don't mind that, because I'm enjoying the process of it, and I'm enjoying the connections that I'm hopefully building, and I'm hopefully bringing some value to anyone who might listen. So at the moment, it's operating at a loss. I'm not seeing any returns for it, financially or any opportunities, but at the moment, my sort of state of mind on that front is I don't really care, because I'm enjoying it, and it's provided me a lot of enjoyment in different ways, non-financially. So if we get into some of the lessons, the things I've learned so far, my first thing to reflect on is overbooking your diary with guests. So my goal is roughly 2 episodes per week. That's what I'm looking at. So to do that, obviously you've got to book guests in. So what I've found is, including myself sometimes, when you book a guest in, they don't typically always show up, or you might not show up. You might be able to make it. So things happen, life happens, and people, they fall out. So my lesson learned is to try and overbook your diary guests. So if my KPI to myself is 2 guests and 2 episodes per week I want to publish, I'll try and book 3 people in per week. So overbook your diary guests. If you only book 1 person in and then they don't show up, then you've kind of got nothing to show for the week. Second point, I would say don't underestimate the importance of good audio and internet. I've had a few recordings where the internet just hasn't been up to scratch. The audio hasn't been up to scratch. The recording quality isn't quite up to the standard that I'm after. So I guess don't underestimate the importance of that, because I'm okay at the moment, some of my episodes not being, top class. This is very much an amateur production at the moment, and I'm okay with that. But I think down the track, I really need to start dialing in and upping the quality on the audio and internet connections on some of the episodes. Number 3, for a personal note, I think it's important to try and reflect on every episode personally. I still need to improve on this. I listen back to the episodes and try and figure out personally what you could have done better. I think I have improved some from lesson, as a whatever you want to call it, podcaster, from episode 1 or 2 to where I am now, episode 20. I think there has been some improvements. Definitely lots of things to improve on. So ways to do that is listen back, and also try and listen to some of the top podcasts out there, because some of the real best hosts there, if you listen to their episodes there, once you've had a crack at it yourself, you see how good they are. So reflect on every episode. What could you have done better? Look for the learnings. Another thing, don't sort of worry, don't worry too much about what people might think about the work you're putting out there. Because the reality is no one's really listening. As a podcast, as a show with 20 episodes, you don't have a big following. No one's sitting around there, their day thinking about your podcast. When you're averaging not too many views on each episode, you don't have an audience. No one's thinking about it. So don't overthink it. Don't really worry about it. Just more focus on your process and getting the episodes out there. Kind of leads on to my next point. Focus on the process, focus on the long-term vision. Think about where you want it to go, break it down, reverse engineer it, into those, manageable goals, those even smaller goals, even just down to, right, I want to get 2 episodes done per week. That's how you do it. Focus on that process, long-term vision, enjoy it. And finally, treat the guest sort of pipeline like target customers. So in my job, I'm always thinking about sales and customers and candidates, and that I'm trying to build a pipeline of. It's the same with guests for the show. You've got to really target them. You've got to build them and get them through that funnel. Don't try and close too soon. Things I've done. There are plenty of mistakes of trying to close guests onto the show without giving them more info or building relationships. So another interesting learning curve, but another interesting sort of part where my sales background has potentially helped with booking and selling and getting people and getting guests on the show. So look, that's a few learnings, lessons, things I've learned from doing this show for 3 months. If we just turn the sort of conversation to the future, maybe sort of think about what direction I want this show to go down next. I think I want to sort of really niche down even further, even more so into my sector. So recruitment, salespeople, even from my industry that I recruit in, technical salespeople. At the moment, I'm all for having, kind of anyone that I find interesting on the show that I think's got some value to add, and I'm not sort of too picky, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is in terms of who I sort of pick to have as a guest on. But I think further in the future, I would really want to niche down into my industry. Up and coming guests, I think I've got a few recruiters that I've connected with over the past. I think I've got internal talent a guy who's worked for done external recruitment and now works internal, doing talent acquisition. So I'm interested to find out a bit more about how he has found that particular journey, and a couple of old mates as well who come from slightly different walks of life that I'm going to be catching up with soon. So plenty of guest books in. I think the next few weeks are looking exciting. And that's about it for me. This is episode 21. As I said, it was an important episode for me. Little milestone, so I did want to just celebrate it with his own episode. Some waffle from myself, and just to get some thoughts out, and maybe I'll look back on this episode at some point, down the track with see maybe how far I've come from this point. Who knows? But just a little line in the sand. 21 episodes. I'm happy to get to that point. Stay tuned for more. Thanks for listening.